taking a stop off. I'm in the drug getting topped off. She never wanna get dropped off. I put the molly on her tongue. She said it burned her like hot sauce.
Oh, you guys excited? Make some noise. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. I don't know if you guys have been to comedy shows before, but I'll tell you this, a lot of comedians will come up on stage and they'll try to act like they're just improvising. Ooh, they're just coming up with it off the cut. They're not, all right? It's all rehearsed, all written, memorized. That's not what I do, all right? I completely improvise all my jokes. In fact, tonight, I'm going to prove it to you. You guys can just yell out whatever you want me to joke about. What was that? Terrorism? Yeah, sure. I can joke about terrorism if you like. I feel like terrorism at the airports, like on planes, not a threat anymore, don't you reckon? Like it used to be when you walk up to airport security, who would be there? Be a tough, roided up white guy, angry face, just standing there, holding like a white piece of paper, and if you didn't match, random explosives test. But now, who's doing airport security? Not white guys. Yeah, everyone's brown, Arab, Indian, Muslim, Sikh, beards, hijabs. You can't tell me they're trying to stop the next 9/11, poaching people from 7-Eleven, right? It's not a threat. Everyone's been hired from WhatsApp. Not intimidating anybody. I don't mind. I've been saving time on the travel, you know, just breezing straight through. I've been randomly checked all year, you know, and these uncles doing the security, they've had a lifetime of racial profiling. Now they're taking revenge. The bloody tables have turned, haven't they? They're just there, just you go, you just go. They're just waiting for some bogan with singlet and board shorts and a mullet en route to Toowoomba. Go, you random explosive tester. Just boggles the bogan's brain. What? You want to explosives test me? I should be the one. Yes, you bong-smoking, mullet-having, Channel 9 watching scumbag. I mean, sir, take off your Havianas and lick my feet, you dog. It's too much progress too quick, you know? You can't go from if you see something, say something. Who are the terrorists? I don't know. They're not all Muslims, just some of them. Which ones? I don't know. Test them all. You can't go from that, all right, to now everyone checking for terrorism look like they've just come straight out of Guantanamo Bay, all right? It's too quick, too much progress. That'd be like if you go pick up your kids from school one day and without telling the parents, all the security guards are now Catholic priests. Like, that's too quick, you know? Oh, was that the line? Was your laugh at terrorism? No. Draw the line at George Pell, all right. I'm at the point where I don't trust myself. I don't know what I'm capable of, let alone other Muslims checking for terrorism. Who knows what they're really doing? You know, they might be there scanning a brother, see, you know, some box cutters in his pocket and be like, hey, word of advice, don't hijack that plane. It's a Jetstar flight. Your hijacking will be delayed 5 hours. No, don't. I know you have been promised 72 virgins. I can guarantee you 1 virgin, okay? 4:30 virgin to Adelaide, okay? Gate 12. All right, you guys are an insane crowd. That was a bit of a test. And more terrorism jokes. All right. But there's a lot of white people here tonight, so, you know. I got jokes for the whites too, you know. I got a lot of white friends. I got a white friend. And, you know, I had a mayonnaise sandwich the other day. I know this about white people. You guys have all started believing in that new made-up white religion. What do you guys call it again? Mental health. Mental health? Yeah? Told you. You got your own religious holiday as well. What do you call it? Mental Health Day? That's like your Eid, isn't it? You guys know what Eid is? Eid's like Muslim Christmas, but better, because based in truth. And... Now, that'll normally get a standing ovation at the mosque, but, you know... But no, Mental Health Day. I mean, that's how you know it's a white sport. Calling up your boss with a straight face. Hi, I need to take a day off work. My mental health's not good. Pay me. I mean, the confidence... That shit wouldn't work with brown people. My uncle runs a car wash in Melbourne for cash, and... You can't try that with him. Hi, I need to take a day off work. My mental health's not good. He'd be like, what? Your mental health isn't good? Well, what about your hand health, okay? These cars need washing. Oh, your brain is sad. Oh, okay. Well, can the sad brain tell the hands to wash the cars? Oh, anxiety. Okay, but you will have more anxiety when you are unemployed, so just get to work. It is a white thing. Brown people will get there, but right now white people use it everywhere. You know, it's in crime reporting. You know, a white person will commit like a violent crime, next day, half the newspaper, all these articles, all about the mental health state of the perpetrator. Oh, poor little Brendan. He had a very troubled upbringing. His dad left when he was a child. He played a lot of violent video games, watched a lot of violent movies. He watched Saw one too many times. Oh, the poor, troubled child. A Muslim commits a crime, straight to terrorism, yeah? When Bin Laden, not that Bin Laden's one of us, by the way, I want to distance myself from him. But no articles about Bin Laden's mental health state. Oh, the troubled Arab man who liked to fly. No. You watch air crash investigations one too many times. Terrorist mastermind. That's the cure for mental illness. Just convert to Islam. Suddenly, you're a mastermind. Listen, look, I clearly need help. You know, I'm not going to see a psychologist, you know, because imagine if that gets out. Not to the public, I don't give a shit. Like, if my family if my mum finds out I'm seeing a psychologist, she'd be like, what? You are just paying someone to gossip about me, is it? Huh? Just give me $100 and I will tell you what's wrong with you for 1 hour. Think you are too good for repression and denial. My mum and her sisters, they think the whole psychology thing is just some scam, you know? Oh, you're just going to pay some con artist to agree with you, is it? Here's a bill for $200, please. Come back next week. Make sure you stay sad. The business model relies on it, okay? You bloody gullible idiot, Nazeem. I'm like, well, Mum, everyone gets depression, you know? In Sri Lanka, people get depression. Yes, of course people get depression in Sri Lanka. We all know that. But we have a very ancient method of dealing with depression in Sri Lanka. It's called, just bloody get over it, you little bitch, okay? Hard enough. What is wrong with your life? Some children are born with no parents, you know? They have to live by themselves, surrounded by all sorts of danger in the jungle. Tigers, lizards, snakes. They have to befriend panthers just to understand the bare necessities of life, you know, Nazeem? Mum, that's the Jungle Book. She's like, yeah, a beautiful documentary. Beautiful documentary. About a boy too busy learning dance moves with bears, no time for depression, get busy dancing. Social media is where I learn everything. You can't scroll without some self-proclaimed, you know, mental health influencer stopping you. Hey, you got to prioritize your mental health by cutting out toxic people in your life. Anyone that's toxic, just cut them out. Bye-bye, toxic. Listen, all right? I'm brown. If I cut out all the toxic people in my life, I would have nobody left in my life, all right? Do you know what we call toxic people in my family? Family. You can't just cut them out. Boundaries. You got to have boundaries. Those are all theoretical concepts to brown people. Growing up, we had no door handles inside the house. My mum would treat my bedroom like she was ASIO, just kicking down the door any time of the day or night. Freeze, Nazeem, hands where I can see them. No sudden movements, you know, like, no privacy. I did an assignment with this girl in year 6. Her name was Prue. She called up the house phone to talk about her. My mum picks up the extension and says, please stop seducing my son, Prue. Thank you. Grade 6. The formal, in year 12, went to the formal. My mum dropped me off and I said, bye, Mum. She then parked the car and came inside as my surprise date. So the three of us took photos together. We all danced. It was really fun. So yeah, there's no boundaries in brown families. I have spoken about it with a psychologist. I've been to one session, actually. I've seen a psych, and she stopped me at the end of the session, the psych. She's like, whoa, that's a lot, right? And that's our time. But it probably does sound like you need to establish some healthy boundaries with your mum. I was like, well, how? You know, I've explained our culture and the sorts of stuff she's done. She's like, well, why don't you say this to her? Hey, Mum, you need to respect my boundaries, okay? Are you serious? She's like, yeah, just look at her and just say, hey, Mum, you need to respect my boundaries, okay? I was like, all right, if it's as simple as that, why don't you just tell yourself? And I turned to my mum, and my mum said, yeah, why don't you just tell me yourself, okay? They're trying to seduce my son for 45 minutes. We are not paying, let's go. But we don't talk about mental health, you know, that's made up. We also don't talk about sex or intimacy. You know, growing up, and even now, I can't watch TV or movies with my family, because as soon as like a sex scene comes on, the whole family just glitches out. It's like there's some sort of drug deal going on. We don't want to get in, but we all suddenly become very interested in the ceiling. Oh, wow. Is that a spider? I think it's like a redback spider. Oh, why do you think they call it that? Oh, maybe the red on the back. I don't know. You know, it's very weird. Brown people, we don't talk about sex, no intimacy across the whole subcontinent. Indians don't talk about it, despite the fact that the Kama Sutra came from India, where there's 1 billion people. They clearly know what to do, all right? But if you watch Bollywood movies, most Bollywood movies, there's no kissing, no sex scenes, no touching. For the whole white people, if you watch, there's just like, you know, there's just songs, stories. For the whole 8 hours, there's no physical contact. But the songs, if you want to know what they represent in the movie, in the plot, that's where the sex is going on, all right? So if you're like, what's going on? They're humping. And so when there's like those big sequences where there's like 40, 50 people dancing, that's an orgy. That's what that represents. So now you know. The first time I watched a kissing scene was when I was at my friend Simon's house, and I was there for dinner, and Home and Away was on, and we were watching it, and then suddenly a kissing scene came on. I started looking for the spiders, and the whole family, they just kept watching. And I was like, what the hell? This is so uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was supposed to... I was like, am I supposed to unzip now? I didn't really know, like, the cultural protocol. Didn't even do sex ed at school. Sexual education, couldn't do it, you know, because we had a form to take home, and on the form it said sex ed. I thought if I take that form home, me and my mum are both just going to look at that word sex and just glitch out. So I was like, whatever. It's just another subject I'm never going to use in real life, like fractions. Didn't do it. My mum's never done it, the subject. I don't want to know anything else. But as soon as you are of age, random members of the community or your family or just aunties, uncles just come up and go, so, when are you going to get married, Nazeem? When are you going to get married? Come on. You are of age. You are 17. When are you going to get married? Come on, get married. You are 21 now, over the hill, get married. And you finally get married, and then the question has changed. When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a child? Come on. When are you going to get pregnant? It's been 3 weeks. When are you going to have a baby? My sister's like, Nazeem, I can't go to these functions anymore. It's none of their business, these random aunties asking me. I'm like, doesn't happen to me. She was like, why? So the first auntie that came up to me and said, so Nazeem, when are you going to have a baby? I said, well, look, auntie, I would like to, but can you explain how they're made? And she just started glitching out. Is that a redback spider? So, I'm a dad, so I've had, you know, I don't really know what happened, but a lot of spiders and legs, but I had a dilemma with my son. He's just started primary school, and he brought up the tooth fairy because his tooth fell out. And of all the things that white people have made up, you know, like Santa, Easter Bunny, Israel, like... The tooth fairy is the weirdest, eh, you reckon? Like, they've taken an ordinary bodily function, made it supernatural, and added capitalism. Like, that's exceptionally white. So my son goes to sleep, I take the tooth out, put 50 cents under there, and then... Sorry, was that too much or something? Like, you know what? We didn't even get the tooth. We had to try and convince my mum to be the tooth. We were like, can you please put money under a pillow? She's like, what? Just be the tooth. She's like, what? I'm supposed to give you money every time something bloody falls out of your body? Oh, every time you take a shit. Oh, here, I'm the bloody shit fairy. I'm the bloody shit fairy. Oh, it's another bloody mental health scam. No, get a job. Don't be lazy. So... my son was grateful for the 50 cents, unlike you lot, you know, but you know, he went to school really happy. 50 cents, oh my God, Tooth Fairy gave me 50 cents. Comes back from school really sad and upset. I said, what's wrong, Issa? He goes, I told everybody that the Tooth Fairy gave me 50 cents, and then I find out my friend Marcus, the Tooth Fairy gave him $50. He says, our Tooth Fairy poor, Dad? I was like, no, I think your Tooth Fairy is probably just trying to teach you the value of money, actually, you know. And 50 cents, that's pretty industry standard, you know, like... taking into account like cost of living and inflation, interest rates, like, are you sure $50? Who gave the tooth? Like who? He said Marcus. I was like, oh, Mark. And then I remembered Mark, like his dad. I know Marcus's dad. I see him every morning at school drop-off. This guy's he's a banker, you know, with his big muscles and tight shirt, and he's got a tie every day, a different tie. Oh, I've got a tie because I'm a banker. Wow, I've got a different tie. You wanker. And condescends me, you know, because I'm a comedian. Every time we part ways, he's like, well, Nazeem, have a great day at work, you comedian, whatever that involves. I mean, he doesn't say it in those words. He's like, have a great morning. But, you know, I know what he means. I know what he's trying to say. I can see it in his tie. Banking idiot. So my son's like, yeah. So he was really sad. And I was like, well, you know what? He said, I don't know if you're ready to hear the truth about the tooth fairy. He's like, what? I said, well, you know what? I read this article about certain parents that wait up for the tooth fairy. And when it flies in, they grab it and they go, listen here, you little shit. Give me all your damn money or I'll rip your freaking wings off one by one. Then they shake it, take all its cash, throw it out the window. Now, I'm not saying Marcus's dad did that, but he is a banker and, you know, they're pretty ruthless. Like, how does he afford all those ties, the gym membership, all adds up, you know? Anyway, my son started crying at this point and so I realised I took it too far, so I started to apologise. And then he cut me off and he said, why didn't you bash the fairy, Dad? And then walked off. I said, because that's homophobic, son. And Can't please them. Anyway. But no, my son's got a better life than me, you know. When you're a parent, what you're constantly doing is comparing your life at their age to their life at their age. My son's world right now is better than the world that I grew up in at his age. For instance, they have a lot of representation. Growing up, we had nobody that looked like us in pop culture. And for kids, it matters, you know. You've got to be normal. Kids don't want to feel different. And my son, there's a lot of people that look like him in television and movies. Growing up, who the freaking hell did we have? Who did brown people have? We had a Pooh from The Simpsons. That was about it. The only guy that looked like us. He was voiced by a white guy, yeah? Our most famous brown guy was a white guy. And it matters, representation. If you can see it, you can be it. Kids need to see who they can be, you know, it helps them dream. And I was jealous because we never had anybody to look up to, you know, that looked like us. But white kids, you know, growing up, they could be anybody, you know, they could be anyone from Warnie to Toadie to Michael Jackson. Like, there were so many examples. Black kids growing up, they could be anybody. They could be, you know, I want to be a basketball player. Or they go, oh, MJ, I could be a basketball, I could be Michael Jordan. You know, if I want to be an actor, I could be Denzel, he looks like me, they can dream it. You know, I want to be a rapper, I could be Tupac. I want to be a bad boy, I could be Mr. T. I want to be a real bad boy, I could be Bill Cosby. Like, there was lots of... But, you know, brown people, we were just absent from pop culture, you know? And we never got seen as sexy or cool or attractive. Other minorities always did. Black, you know, you always heard girls saying things like, ooh, black guys have the sexiest bodies. Or Spanish guys, they have the sexiest accents. You never heard anybody saying, ooh, I have the biggest crush on that Indian guy who installed my cable television. Oh, wow. Just the way he plugged those cables into my television. Oh, I wish I was the television. Never happened. Brown guys that I grew up with had like an absolute identity crisis, especially in your teens. I went to school in Melbourne High, nerdy school, and a bunch of my friends, you know, they all started trying to act like African Americans, you know, because they were cool. You know, so a lot of my friends would hang out at the train station after school wearing do-rags and baggy pants, just dropping the N-word casually like they're the Fresh Prince of Melbourne, just trying to act black, you know, just hollering at Indian girls. Yo, what's up? Yo, what's up, shorty? Yo, what's up, shorty? What's up? And she'd be like, actually, my name is Shweta, not Shorty. I've got a friend, his name is Ravi, Indian Australian guy, and you know, he was like, yo, actually, no, don't call me Ravi, call me Dr. Ray, man. Yo, my name's Dr. Ray, like Dr. Dre, my name's Dr. He's now a pediatrician, he's an actual doctor. Did very well at school. More embarrassing end of the spectrum were brown guys who tried to act white. Call them coconuts, brown on the outside, white on the inside. It's supposed to be an insult, but actually just a delicious fat, and got this friend, his name's Aj, a Sri Lankan Australian guy. He did a very good job at talking white, you know, he could do it. He'd be like, g'day mate, how's it going? Yeah, nah, hoo, ha, ha, ha. Which is a pretty coherent Australian sentence, but couldn't dress white. Didn't consult an actual white person, would muck it up. You know, he'd wear like white, like yuppie boat shoes, very expensive boat shoes, but then he'd wear board shorts and a bintang singlet. And we were like, bro, those are two very opposite types of white, okay? Those are counteractive whites in this very unappealing brown package, okay? You're like a Maximon in human form. Doesn't make any sense. But me and my friends, I had a group of friends, we were like, no, let's not try and be like other people. Let's try and redefine what it means to be brown. So we were like, let's come up with our own racial slur so that in the future, it'll be cool to be... We called ourselves the Curries. We were like, hey, we're the Curries. What's going on? We thought it would take off. Hasn't. And in fact, people were just confused. Why do you guys call yourselves the Curries? We were like, thank you for asking. We're the Curries because we are both hot and delicious. Hot and delicious. Do the maths. Hasn't made us cool. I genuinely thought in like 20 years, it'd be like a compliment, like you'd be going out for, you know, for dinner or something, you'd be like, babe, you look real hot. You look like a goat madras curry, you know, like, it's not a common compliment. But after 9/11, Muslims dialed down their Muslimness. Pretty common to meet like a Muhammad who'd be like, after 9/11, yeah, nah, call me Michael, mate, yeah, nah. My name's Mickey D, and Ahmed, or change his name to Adam. Yeah, my name's Adam now, actually, yeah. Saddam, yeah, no, my name's Adam too, actually, yeah. Just Aussify your name, you know. One of my friends, I grew up with this one guy. His name's Nabil Ahmed Abdurrahman. And Lebanese Australian guy, he changed his name legally to Alexander Sutherland to get more job interviews, and it worked. Got the job interviews. They were like, so, what's your name? And he's like, my name is like Alexander Sutherland, like I swear to God, that's my name. Cool. Didn't get the jobs, but I live in Melbourne. And I live in a pretty kind of yuppie suburb, you know, a lot of old people there. Everyone is retired Karens. They are just full-time Karening the neighbourhood, just on neighbourhood watch, just watching me, basically. And just every little thing I do, you know, I'll take the bins out. Oh, Nazeem, wrong bin, it's recycling today, Nazeem, that's a wrong. They go, oh, thanks, Margaret, I've got to pretend I recycle, swap the bins, you know, and it's a pain. The other day, I was getting in my car, in my own driveway, and some guy stops and goes, excuse me, are you stealing that car? I said, huh? No, I'm just borrowing it from myself. And he was like, what? I said, no, I'm not stealing the car. And he got really upset that I raised my voice. He said, whoa, sorry, you should be grateful that I asked. And then he walked off. And I felt bad, older guy, so I was like, no, I am grateful. If you didn't ask, I might have stolen my own car. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping crime with your questions, you know. I don't think that's how it works. I mean, but he was old and confident, and maybe he spent a lifetime stopping crime like that. Maybe you can just ask a criminal mid-crime if they're committing a crime. Maybe it does drive them into some sort of existential crisis where they question their life's choices and change their... I don't know. Maybe you can be like, excuse me, mate, are you robbing this bank? Am I robbing this bank? Or is this bank robbing me? You know, with high interest rates, $2 FBOS charges, you know? Am I the villain or am I like Robin Hood, you know, stealing from the rich to give to me? Listen, mate, I am just a product of your failed society, mate. I'm just a cog in the machine that grinds the poor and forces the hand of the desperate. So is this a gun in my hand or is this like a tool of liberation? You've got to ask yourself. No, it's a gun in my hand. I've got a gun in my hand. I've got my mum's stockings on my face. I mean, what have I become? You know, have I become a criminal? Am I a criminal? I mean, if I just become what I despise, you know? I mean, what is a criminal? You got to ask yourself. I mean, what is a criminal? I mean, isn't a criminal just like a mirror, just reflecting back society's own criminality? Like, am I a mirror now? Am I literally? Is that why everyone's looking at me? I don't know. Do mirrors have agency, mate? Your question has unravelled my entire belief system, mate. I mean, how can I rob this bank when I've got to find myself a copy of The Barefoot Investor or Atomic Habits? I've got to turn my life around, man. I've got to turn my life around. Anyway, I said all this to the guy standing in my driveway, all this sort of stuff, and he was real confused, old guy. So I took off my balaclava and I gave him a big cuddle and walked off. Anyway, one of my favourite things about Australian culture is how much like, we just love the underdog, you know? Like, we love underdog. Like, if you're a dog, like, be under, all right? And we will back you. Climb the ladder, dog. Climb the... Not too high. We don't like tall poppies, do we? You know, be a short poppy, like Grant Denyer. No one hates him, you know? He's a sweet spot. Succeed, just not too much. Like, that's why we love the Anzacs, because they lost, you know? There's, like... Sorry, is that too soon? Sorry for your recent loss. But Americans, the opposite. Any Americans here tonight? Yeah! Okay, we believe you. What's your name? Jess. Jess. Nice to meet you, Jess. And what are you doing here? Like, 25 years later, I'm not left. Yeah, 25. You've been here 25 years. Did you come here as like a refugee or something? Like what? Your first husband didn't work out. What about the second one? He's pretty good. Where is he? At home watching the kids. And watching the girls, mate. You've trained him well, haven't you? All right. Give it up for the American. Americans are very confident people, you know, very confident. They're the opposite of us in lots of ways. Like I was in LA last year and I went for a run and random Americans just started cheering for me on the street, just yelling compliments. Like, that's it, brother. You're doing it. You're getting it in. Look at him. He's a winner. That's a winner. That's a winner. That would never happen here in Australia. Can you imagine that? Going for a run, you're more likely, well, you lost your bike, you dickhead. We're a humble culture. We keep each other grounded. My mum can't wrap her head around that part of the culture, you know, the humble brag. I recently did some ads for Australian avocados. Thank you, I have peaked. And actually, 1 week after I was announced as the face of Australian avocados, they then announced an oversupply of avocados. So I don't know if there's a causal link, but I was very excited to get the gig. I don't know if you saw the ad. I was wearing a green jacket, yellow shirt. I was like, man, you know, pretty cool. I must be very talented. One of my friends was like, yeah, or it's because you're the colour of the seed. So and my friend, my manager actually, so she knows how to sell me. You could go with Hamish Blake, or you could go for a cheaper option who looks like the Seed. I'll save $5 million. Anyway, that's true. Anyway, my mum, she found out. My mum found out that I was going to be on TV with these ads that night, and she spent half the day just drafting a press release to send to all her friends, just boasting. My son Nazeem, he has been asked by avocados itself to be their face. The fruit called him up and said, hey, why don't you represent us? Make sure you tune in, witness history. I'm like, Mum, just relax, right? That's so embarrassing. You're boasting too much, and you're sending these messages to those aunties you don't even like. You say they're real mean to you. She's like, yes, good. You've got to show those bitches who is doing well in life now. Yeah. But has their son ever done? I bet he's not on TV. I'm like, yeah, because he's a doctor, Mum. That's why. All right? He's not a doctor, Nazeem. He's a physiotherapist, okay? No, good on him. Physiotherapist, rubbing strangers' bodies in massage parlors for money. Good. Good, but can he sell fruit on national television? I don't think so. He probably couldn't even be the face of nectarines. Anyway, Ned Kelly is my favourite Aussie underdog. I don't know if you guys know. Ned Kelly, he's a very famous Australian. You know, he was an underdog. He grew up in the bush. He was a bush ranger. He hated the cops, hated the British authority, had this massive orange beard. He was like a barista before we even had coffee. And one day, you know, he just woke up and he was like, you know what? I've just had enough of these cops hassling me and my family just because we're all Irish. It's kind of racist. What should I do about it, boys? And they were like, I don't know, like, shoot him. And he was like, yeah, sick idea. That's how we used to solve problems back in the day. Yeah, that's what Australia, you got a problem? No worries, mate, just shoot at it. Then Americans stole that from us, and that's how they solve their problems. Mostly in schools. If she wasn't here, you guys wouldn't give a shit. Stop pretending. Anyway, so Ned and his gang, they then got changed, you know. They put on their metal suits and helmets. They became Australia's first ever Transformers, actually. A little known fact. Boganatrons, I think is it's my favourite joke. And then what happened? Then they hit the streets. They started shooting cops, killing them. And how did Australians react? Overwhelmingly loved it. Oh my God, yeah, Aussie legends, larrikins, icons. People were like, these guys are activists. You know, they've had enough of racism in the police force, and they started a movement, Ginger Lives Matter. And people started posting orange squares. You know, it became huge. Then the cops caught them, you know, hanged him in Melbourne. And before Ned got hanged, he yelled out his famous last words, "Such is life," which means this is life. Which it was for the next 4 or 5 seconds, and then, you know, then dead. And spoiler alert. And then they built a museum where he died, and now you can go visit it. I went there with my son on the school holidays. Pretty good. Cost like $150, which means to this day they're still robbing the public. But that's our legacy. That's a big part of our culture. But now we're so far from that. Like, we've become so soft. Imagine if that happened now. Imagine if next week I woke up and I was like, you know what? I've just had enough of racism in the police force, and I grew my beard out, put on a metal burqa, and just started shooting cops, yelling, "Such is life!" I'm not getting a museum, am I? No one will be singing my praises. It'll be my mum. I always told him to become a physiotherapist, and cut out his toxic friends. But I don't know if you know, with Ned Kelly, the whole shootout happened in this country town in Victoria called Glenrowan. I drove through there, and the whole town, it just has these massive statues of Ned and his gang. There's Ned Kelly-themed cafes. But if you think about it, the Kelly gang were a bunch of terrorists, weren't they? Like, they fit the legal definition of terrorists. They conspired to kill members of the police force with beards equals terrorists. And now there's just this country town just openly revering a bunch of terrorists. Imagine that now, any other country town, just openly celebrating a group of terrorists. Well, there is that one country town a few hours from Sydney. What's it called? Canberra, actually. And ASIO. You're all on camera, by the way. Anybody here on TikTok? Yeah, some of you. I'm a bit of a TikTok star. amongst 12 to 14-year-olds. That seems to be my target demographic. Probably the wrong phrase, actually, target demographic. They just follow me. I don't follow them. It's like a one-way. But they send me DMs as well. "Ooh, Nazeem, I love you. I think you're so funny. I always freak out thinking they're like some sort of undercover pedophile police trying to catch me. I don't reply. But, you know, they're like future ticket holders, so, you know, I acknowledge. I double tap the message, which sends them a love heart back. My days on the outside are probably numbered, but anyway. The other day I woke up and I don't know if you're on TikTok, but there are heaps of child bogans on there. And the other day I logged onto TikTok and this 14-year-old kid was commenting on all my videos. He didn't like me, got all these notifications. He said the same thing. "Nazeem, go back to where you came from. Go back to where you came from. Go back." I was like, "Mate, you are 14 years old, right? I was born here. I've been here more than twice as long as you. Why don't you go back? Go back to your dad's balls, you dickhead, all right? And your haircut's shit. I troll his friends. I've got multiple fake accounts. And but then his little mate, tried to back him up. His little 13-year-old friend, named Trent. What a shit name. I mean, unless there's a Trent here, but, anyway. He started replying to all my comments, started calling me un-Australian with the mic drop emoji. Like, "Ooh, I got him." Like, "Ooh, that doesn't hurt my feelings." That's not even an insult, calling someone un-Australian. Like, that's basically saying that everything that's Australian is good and everything that's not Australian is bad. Most of the world is un-Australian. Ever consider that? Like, everywhere but Australia and Bali is un-Australian. Don't you reckon? Objectively, some things are better un-Australian than Australian. Like, you don't want an Australian sushi chef, do you? They would just burn it out the front of Bunnings on a barbecue. Just douse it in tomato sauce. "Konnichiwa, can't there you go." We're a young country. We don't even know who we are, Like, our culture is just a mixed bag of shit. We're just chucking it at the wall, seeing what sticks. Like, even our most Aussie icons are not even from here. Like John Farnham, he's from England. Jimmy Barnes, Scotland. Peter Dutton, from hell. Like, none of them... All right. Good crowd. Who didn't clap? I can't believe... Like, I'm in Queensland, which is great, and it's good to be here. Home of the Queen. She's, what's the opposite of an ice queen? Because she's on fire, isn't she? But, when Pauline Hanson first hit the charts, who do you think I was talking about? She's my queen. People think, you must hate Pauline. I'm like, no, she's good for business. And I can't believe she's still a thing. Like, she first hit the charts when I was in primary school with all the Chinese stuff. All the fans were like, "Oh, mate, she just says it like it is, She just says facts, just facts, and that's why we love her, because that's real Aussie facts, Beer in one hand, facts in the other, nothing more Aussie than... Remember she came out, first thing she said, Chinese people, a lot of Chinese people in Australia, a lot of Chinese people in China, a lot of Chinese people... Australians like, damn straight, that's a bloody fact, keep going. Tell us more facts, you ginger encyclopedia. What else you got, you red-headed tourist information booth? That was it. Nothing else. Took her ages to, come up with another fact. Second album syndrome. It's difficult. She was out of inspiration. She was quiet for a while. And then she went to jail. Remember she went to jail? And she came out of jail more popular before she was like the fluorescent Nelson Mandela, just like... And then she had more facts. She started on Muslims. Obviously, met a few of us in there. Let's not talk about how overrepresented we are, but, She was like, "Yeah, Muslim, I've got another fact for you. How come you never see Muslims come out and condemn Islam? You never see Muslims come out and condemn..." I was like, is that the dumbest thing I've heard? Or is that like a Mensa level riddle, I was trying to figure it out. Why, I'm Muslim, all right, I'll figure it out, Why don't I ever come out and... No, that's like asking... It's like asking a hipster to condemn single origin coffee. It doesn't make sense. But then she was like, she said one thing. She was like, "You know what? I don't mind those Christian Muslims." And I was like, "Yeah, neither do I. They don't exist. But, Christian Muslims. But I don't mind Pauline, She's a dying breed, her and her supporters. They're like old school racists, They don't make them like that anymore, Straight out. You know, just like, say it like it is, you know. They're just like, don't love it, leave. That's one of their little phrases, isn't it? You don't love it. If you don't love it, just leave. You know, I get that in my DMs all the time. If you don't love it, leave. If you don't love it, if you say it enough times, it starts to become motivational, you know. If you don't love it, just leave. Like, imagine you're a family in a war-torn country, you know. You're evading persecution, hiding out in some house. You know, you turn on the world news, you see a bunch of Australians on there. If you don't love it, just leave. Who are these humanitarian heroes basically inviting us over? If you don't love it, just leave. Yeah, they're like superheroes. They've got like a cape, they're wearing the flag, and they've got the double cape with the mullet thing going on. Let's go, let's go. Get on boats, come to Australia. Fuck off, we're full. Oh, I think we slightly misinterpreted the message. Fuck off, we're full. We grew here, you flew here. It's not even an insult. That's just describing the concept of immigration, isn't it? You know, but now racists, you know, they don't make them like they used to. They're all changing. I love the straight-out racists, you know. You always know where you stand. It's just no middleman, just farm to table, you know. But now they're all, like, smiling. They've all evolved, smiling. They wear suits, you know. They're friendly. They're in Parliament, most of them. And you can tell they're racist by the way they spend our money. You know, we're all from all different countries, but they always spend it on white shit, you know, like, with respect. Like, remember when that church in France caught on fire, the Notre Dame? And all these politicians were like, quick, we've got to send money to France. Let's set up an urgent fund to fix the church. And people were like, what? Send money to France? They're rich. They should be sending us croissants. And these politicians were like, excuse me, we respect elderly Catholic treasures like George Pell, you know, so we've got to help them out. Aboriginal people were like, all right, you know, if you're helping churches out, why don't you help us out? We're dying in custody. Our life expectancy is much less. Some of them were like, well, why don't you, like, give us a voice? Can you at least give us a voice? And these same politicians were like, you've already got Yothu Yindi. Now that's a voice, you know. How many more black voices do you want? You know, you've got Kathy Freeman, you've got Casey Donovan, Adam Briggs, Kamal, Chris Lilly. You know, like, how many more black voices do you want? How much is this voice referendum costing us? We're not a bloody charity, are we? And then Ukraine started getting bombed by Russia, and all these same politicians were like, quick, let's send money to Ukraine. Send $917 million of our military assets to Ukraine. Everybody change your profile pictures. And if you were like, what? I thought we're in a cost of living crisis. These politicians were like, excuse me, are you Putin in brownface? All right, listen. These people are innocent, they're getting colonised, you know, but that happened to Aboriginal people back in the... Yeah, but that happened 200 years ago, you know. That was before Instagram. This is happening now, you know. Like, getting colonised. We've got to stop them getting colonised by Russia, and that's why we're sending military assets. Well, if that's the case, stopping colonisation, well, why don't we send military assets to Palestine? They're getting colonised too. And these politicians will be like, what? You want us to send money to the Taliban? No, that's Afghanistan. It's Afghanistan. Mate, same shit, different tea towel. Listen, mate. There's a way white supremacy works, right? Let me break it down for you, all right? As a government, we only back our preferred white country, all right? So with Israel, Palestine, pretty straightforward, mate. Israel every day, all right? With Russia, Ukraine, a little confusing because they're both white, but, you know, Russia, a bit Chinesey. That's why we support Ukraine. Israel, Palestine, mate, that's basic, all right? It's like cricket, all right? It's like cricket. This will help you understand. So imagine, we back our preferred white country. So if Australia's playing England, who do we support? Australia. Right? England's playing Pakistan, we'll go for England. New Zealand's playing England, we'll go for New Zealand. Pakistan's playing Afghanistan, who gives a shit, you know? Like, I'm not watching. Unless it's like a day-nighter, then I'll watch because the ball is white. We'll go for the ball, but otherwise, I don't give a shit. And that's why we support Israel. Do you reckon we should make jokes about Israel tonight? Yeah! All right, well, since you asked for it, well, I have heard it's good for your career to make jokes about Israel, so I want to make it in Hollywood. This is my audition tape. No, I don't want to be called an anti-Semite criticising Israel. Sometimes people say, oh, you're criticising Israel. Are you an anti-Semite? Do you hate all Jews? Which is ridiculous. That's like making fun of Saudi Arabia and someone saying, excuse me, are you an Islamophobe? Do you hate all Muslims? Or making fun of New Zealand. Oh, are you a sheepophobe? Do you hate all sheep? That's like someone saying, oh, do you hate everyone from the third world just because you make fun of Durra and Woodridge, which I have been told are your shit suburbs. So, Anybody here from Durra or Woodridge? You? Hey, well done on saving up for the tickets. Congrats. And you? What, two? You are all laughing at poor people right now. But no. No, but look, there's a reason Australia loves Israel, you know, as a state, you know, not the people. I feel like, you know, we've got a lot in common, you know. Both countries are very young. Australia's only a couple hundred years old. Israel, 76 years old. Very young, 76. There are people that have lived in Israel longer than Israel has lived in Palestine. Well, that is very young. Both countries, Australia and Israel, both have a lot of white people in very hot places. So they're obviously indigenous to the land. And both countries, Australia and Israel, were formed off the back of some pretty genocidal mantras. You know, Australia started off the back of terra nullius, which means nobody's land. Israel, a land without a people, for a people without a land. So both countries, colonisers just rocked up, all like, oh, well, there's nobody here. There's absolutely nobody here. And then they proceeded to kill absolutely nobody and steal their land and start their countries. That's another similarity. And also both countries, Australia, Israel, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the British. I mean, I don't know where we'd be, but that's a separate show, you know? But if it wasn't for the British, Israel wouldn't exist. Before the British came to Palestine in 1917, who was there? Just Palestinians, Muslims, Christians, Jews, just all hanging out, eating hummus and couscous or whatever. And then the British rocked up, the original Barmy Army, and they just took over the place and they renamed it British Mandate Palestine, which sounds like something Elon Musk would name his kid. And the locals are furious. They were like, hey, Britain, you can't just keep taking over countries, all right? This is 1917. You could get cancelled. And the British were like, don't worry about it. We've got a plan. And they're like, what's your plan? They put out a letter. It was a letter called the Balfour Declaration, which the British government sent to an investment banker named Lord Rothschild. And they said, in this letter, we commit to creating a homeland for the Jewish people. The Palestinians are like, oh, sick. Where are you going to do that? And they're like, oh, here, actually. Palestinians are like, we're already here. And the British are like, yes, well, we have dibsed it now. Dibs, like the first day of school when you run in and you throw your bag on a seat and you're like, that's my desk now. And the Palestinians are like, you can't just give away something that you just stole. That's like giving away a car that you just stole, Britain. And the British were like, interesting analogy, but no, we are not giving away the whole car. We're not doing Australia again. We are merely going to give away most of your car, but you will still have your wheel, but it'll be around your neck. And over time, it'll get tighter and tighter, suffocating and killing most of you. But don't worry about that minor detail. It's a minor detail. Trust me, we're the British, baby. This is what we do everywhere we go. The natives are like, oh my God, Britain, do it again. That was so much fun. Do it again. Do it again. In fact, right now, we're in a place called India, and we're about to cut that country up, create a new country called Pakistan. And believe me, both India and Pakistan are both just going to get along like BFFs forever. Trust me. It's going to be like one of our greatest legacies. You don't believe me? All right, well, speak to the Indians yourself. You speak to the Indians. The Indians are like, don't trust these talcum powder faces, okay? Don't. We were just standing there on the shores of India, and suddenly this boat rocks up, and we were like, oh, hello, white boat people. Can we interest you in a table for one? Oh, they just walked right in. Look at that, Raj. Wow, the confidence of a white prince. Make yourselves at home. They've taken my home. Okay, shit. What are they doing to the place? Okay. 200 years later, they're like, you know, it's getting a bit late, and we are a bit hungry, but you have sent all of our food to England, including spices for some reason. You don't like flavor, but you have sent spices to England. Did you mean to send the mayonnaise instead? But bit of confusion. We are hungry. Do you need a lift home? We are a nation of taxi drivers. We can drop you home. Uber X as well, you know. We can. Oh, if you want Uber Black, you will need to go to the classier brown country you have colonized, Sri Lanka, actually. Much better looking people. They are the surgeons in the hospital, not the bloody GP. The bloody GP. Surgeons. Any Indians here tonight? Shut up, Indians. No one cares. There is 1 billion of you. We are rare Pokemons. You are... Okay, we'll save that brown on brown racism for next show. Anyway, the British were like, don't worry, we're going to leave. And they left, they cut up the country before they left, and they created Pakistan, killed like 500,000 people instantly, displaced 1.5 million people, drained India of $1 trillion, which now makes it impossible for India to ever come out of poverty. And they left, took the best shit, unashamedly, took the Kohinoor diamond, which is valued at like 250 million pounds. They took it, the Queen used to wear it on her crown during the Christmas message. Everyone be nice to each other, look after each other, Merry Christmas, be kind to each other. Indians were just looking at that like, give us back that fucking rock, bitch, give it back. Stole it from a child. They're supposed to be the head of the church, stole it from a 14-year-old kid on their way out, you know? I'm familiar with the royal family's history of Christianity. It doesn't say thou shalt not steal, except if it's like this real sick diamond, you know? Stole it from a 14-year-old child. You know, the only thing you're supposed to steal from a child, according to their Christianity, is his virginity, you know? Like... No, I'm talking about the history, their history, not the religion. Like the royal families, not the... Oh, let's get back to Palestine. Let's talk about... Palestine seems safer. All right. Bloody hell. All right, fast forward. 1947, you know, the British announced they're leaving India, and they leave. A couple months later, they announce they're going to leave Palestine because they're downsizing or something. And a couple months later, they leave, and then they hand it over to a group of Israeli militias and the UN, who then eventually cut up Palestine, create Israel at the expense of 750,000 Palestinians being violently expelled from their land, ethnically cleansed. 530 villages were razed to the ground. It's called the Nakba for Palestinians, which means the catastrophe. And now Israel occupies 78% of original Palestine, the only country in the world with no actual boundaries, because it just keeps expanding. All because the British, you know, they gave away something that they stole. The freaking cash converters of countries, aren't they? Acted like they didn't know it was stolen. Oh, yeah, no, it was like that when it came in, actually. Yeah, I don't know. That's what the bloke, he brought it in like. He wanted $5, you know? Some people now try to justify what Israel's doing, stealing land, colonising Palestine in 2024 by saying, well, you know, Jewish people have a right to the land. They've been there for thousands of years. Jewish people were there 2,000-3,000 years ago, which is very weird logic for stealing something now, you know, or 3,000 years. Like, my background is Sri Lankan Moor, you know, 3,000 years ago, I've got Indian ancestry, Moroccan, Yemeni, Iraqi. I can't just rock up to Saddam Hussein's palace and be like, oi, Uday, that's my bedroom, bro. Piss off, you know? 3,000 years ago. It's ridiculous logic, you know? 3,000 years ago, Egyptian pharaohs used to own Jewish slaves. Does that mean Akmal could just call up Jerry Seinfeld and be like, oi, bro, you owe me royalties, all right? Don't be a soup Nazi about it. Stealing shit. 3,000 years. That's like doing an Ancestry.com test. Oh, I'm 0.1% Chinese. I guess I own all the violins, you know? I think you get the point. But no one's saying that Jewish people haven't lived in Palestine for thousands of years. Jewish people were there when Jesus was alive. Jewish people were there when Jesus happened to find himself nailed to the cross. Not saying they did that, because that would be anti-Semitic, but Jesus will be back, and he'll have a victim statement. Then we'll find out what happened. But, you know... But Jesus was from Palestine. He's from the West Bank. He's from Bethlehem, which is under military occupation now, but he was from there, you know, which is a miracle in and of itself, because he had very blonde Scandinavian skin and hair. And everybody else looked like Waleed Ali, you know. He looked like a member of ABBA. It's a miracle. I know it's weird to talk about during a comedy show. It also feels like it's weird to not talk about it. But we call a spade, you know, and Australians are like, yeah, I could see there's a genocide going on, you know, I could see that, yeah, but you know what, this all wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for October 7, which is ridiculous, because that basically also assumes that life for Palestinians before October 7 was rosy, which it wasn't. You know, if you were in the West Bank, you were living under martial law. You've got to go through humiliating military checkpoints. They take hours. There are Jewish-only streets. It's literal apartheid. If you're in the Gaza Strip, Israel doesn't let anybody leave. They control everything that comes in: food, water, medicine, electricity. It's like being in a relationship with R. Kelly, you know? Does that punchline justify the speech? I've got Palestinian friends who were forced to leave when Israel was created at gunpoint. Some of them, all they got to take was the key to their home. But now they are forbidden from returning. But if you're a Jewish person anywhere in the world, or you've got one Jewish parent, or you're a convert to Judaism, you're allowed to go, full citizenship, full rights. I've got a friend, he's a convert to Judaism, and he's allowed to move there, even though he still has his training wheels on his freshly circumcised penis. Like, he's allowed to go. Does that punchline justify the speech? 10 years ago, I did that show, Legally Brown. Did you guys watch that? Thank you very much. You paid for it. I wore this T-shirt that said, Free Gaza. It was at a time when Israel was bombing Gaza. Doesn't really narrow it down, to be honest. And after we recorded the show, one of the execs at SBS called me up and said, hey, Nazeem, love the episode, really funny stuff. That T-shirt, though, we're going to have to delete it because it's offensive. And I was like, what? You're going to have to delete the whole episode? He's like, no, just the T-shirt. And I said, huh? And so then they, frame by frame, spent $10,000 deleting Free Gaza from a T-shirt. Now, at the time, I didn't say anything, because I'm like, well, I'm one member of this team, I don't want to rock the boat. But also, if I'm honest, I was like, well, I'm trying to establish a career here in comedy, and also standing up for Palestine. That's a long game, It's not all about doing it now. But 10 years on, being a dad, watching my friends watch their family die in 4K on their phones, clearly, silence only enables the bully. There's no such thing as being silent and playing the long game, all right? But clearly, Australians get that on the ground. Ordinary Australians can smell and see an underdog. Our government still hasn't got the message. I reckon what might make them change their mind and their stance and overwhelmingly pressure them to stop funding this genocide is maybe if we all just did something small, just started Ausifying the way we said Gaza. Instead of calling it Gaza, we started calling it Gaza. Then Australians would be like, oh shit, Gaza's in strife, quick. Someone call up Bunnings, let's organise a sausage sizzle. Look, you guys have been awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
See me, better get inside. For the sins, get a clip, for the better ride. Better last. Australian nightmare, black full of dream time. They didn't want it to the scene mine. Showed them what it should be, not what it could be. Every motherfucker made a beeline. Hunters and gatherers, I don't give a fuck what the matter is. I don't give a fuck who you're flattering. I don't give a fuck what the chattering. Cops don't knock their battering. You can feel the end of a javelin. I got the game by the throat. I'm getting paid by the joke. You should have stayed on the boat. Indigenous dream ain't woke. You can get cleansed by the smoke.
Yeah. Again and again, watch them all split when they sit on a fence. Gave them a chance to give us a yes. All that they said was give it a rest.